It's 2022 and is expensive. But you want to move out, so how are you going to do it?
Hey, I'm Alex.
And I'm Philip.
And we teach you what you need to know about being a grown-up.
Because adulting shouldn't suck. If you're new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, click that bell so you get the notifications when we put out new videos, and the comments below let us know when you're trying to move out.
If you've seen any of our other videos about moving out, then you know that Philip and I both moved out when we were 18 and we never had to move back in. And I know a lot of things have changed since I moved out because I'm 36 now and I'm old, but I guarantee a lot more stuff has changed since your parents moved out. I don't know, maybe your parents are about my age. I don't know how old your parents are. But a lot of stuff has changed. So we wanted to update one of our most popular move out videos because now that it's 2022, everything is a lot more expensive.
We get it. Life is expensive. And living at home definitely has its perks, like not having to pay rent. But what if living at home is driving you absolutely f***ing crazy? I mean, that's what it was for me. It was horrible. I would have rather moved out unprepared than have to continue living at home with my mom. So that's what I did. And lucky for me, it worked out.
I mean, that's how it is for a lot of people who comment on the videos.
Yeah.
But Alex and Philip, life for me at home is great. My parents don't charge me any rent. They cook my food. They do my laundry. I just get to hang out all day, play Call of Duty. Why should I move out?
Yeah, your room smells like body odor. Laundry hampers full of stinky clothes. Stuff all over your room. 3-day-old Taco Bells on your dresser.
Ugh. Moving out on your own is really the part of life where you move from childhood to adulthood. And they say that in your early 20s is where most of your adult habits are going to be formed. So if you're not trying to get out of your parents' house and you don't have any sense of urgency, then you're not doing your future self any justice.
We get it. We're not saying that moving out isn't like a big deal. Moving out for the first time is expensive and it's scary. If you don't prepare and you get evicted when you do move out, that can stay on your record for up to 7 years. That's a really long time. And once you get an eviction on your record, it's really, really hard to get another place to live in your name while that eviction is on your record. If you can find a place to rent to you with an eviction on your record, you're most likely gonna need a cosigner, or they're gonna have you pay up to 6 months of rent up front before they'll give you the keys to that apartment.
That's a lot of money.
Wherever it is you're staying, and it is so much money. Let's say rent's $1,000 a month, which is pretty common in the US today. That could be up to like $6,000 just for your security deposit before they're gonna let you move in.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
I mean, $1,000 is pretty cheap.
Mm-hmm.
You live on any of the coasts, West Coast, East Coast, you're looking at like at least $2,000 or more.
Yeah, you can't even get a cardboard box on the street in LA for $1,000 a month. If you guys are looking to get out of your parents' house for the first time, we have a great video, super popular, 12 steps to getting out of your parents' house. It's awesome. The link's going to be in the description below, and it comes with a free downloadable checklist, which is awesome.
So let's get started and talk about how much money you need to spend on things when you're moving out. The first one is going to be the rental application fee, and that can be anywhere from free all the way up to $100. And on average across the US, I think it's like $45 for an application fee, and they're going to be screening you as an applicant for these apartments, and they're going to look at things like your rental history, your credit history, your criminal history. And they want to know what kind of person you are because they're going to obviously let you live there and hopefully you're going to pay your rent on time. Now they have to pay for all these individual services, which is why they're charging you because they're not going to do it for free. And if you happen to not get the apartment, you don't get a refund. It's non-refundable.
If you guys need help filling out the rental application, we have a template that you can download and fill out so you know what type of information you need to put on these rental applications so that when you do submit it, you have a higher chance of getting it accepted. Because you don't want to waste all your money going around filling out all of these applications because every place that you go to that you want to move into, you have to fill out this application. They're not transferable. You're not going to be able to like go to this place and be like, well, they already ran it, so here, go and take it to that apartment. Not going to work.
Got to pay it every one.
So download it. Link's going to be in the description.
The other part about that too is really nice is you look a lot more professional when you're young, 18, 19, 20, and you have all that information right there ready to go.
We also have a video coming out too on how to fill out a rental application and get it approved. Link's also going to be in the description, so check it out. Next up, security deposit. That's going to be anywhere from $300 all the way up to equal to your first month's rent. A security deposit is used as like a good grace that you're going to pay any damages that you did to the place when you move out. So if you break something, they're going to use your security deposit to fix it. And if the cost of repair is cheaper than your deposit, then they're going to refund you whatever is remaining. If you don't cause any damage at all, then you get your whole security deposit back. If you cause more damage than what your security deposit is, then they're going to charge you for that. And if you don't pay it, it's probably going to go to collections and they're going to flag you as a bad tenant on your rental history, which is not good. So that's what your security deposit is used for, in case you guys were curious.
The next one is going to be rent, and it can be anywhere from like $300 at the lowest to, I don't know, way more than $2,000 a month for rent. And it depends on where you're living, how big the place is that you're trying to rent, and how many roommates you have. So $300, that might get you a 3-bedroom apartment, with a couple roommates in Alabama, where life is super cheap and inexpensive, compared to, I don't know, man, like San Diego. You can't even rent a parking spot for $300 a month. So it all really depends on where you're living. Now, before you ever get your keys to your apartment or first apartment or whatever it is, you're going to have to pay your first and last month's rent plus your security deposit before they ever let you move in. So rent can be expensive to get into a new place.
It's a big chunk of money. You don't always have to pay your first and last month's rent. It kind of depends on the place, but more common than not, you have to pay your first month's rent, your last month's rent, and whatever the security deposit is before that apartment complex or that landlord will give you the keys to that apartment. If you're really trying to like dial in that amount of what rent is going to be, the best thing you can do is look at the area that you're trying to rent in and see how much things are costing for whatever size apartment or house that you're trying to rent. All you got to do, go to Craigslist.com, go under housing, and look, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, for whatever area it is you're trying to rent from, or Facebook Marketplace, or go to the apartment complex if they're local. But you have to be quick on this type of stuff because, it's 2022. Everybody's moving everywhere. Things are scarce. The housing market is crazy right now. Everybody wants to move. You can go there right now and be like, this apartment is great. I love this place. I'm going to go home and get my paperwork and come back and fill out this application. And then you come back and somebody else already rented it. One thing you have to remember though, when you do rent out a place, you are signing a lease saying that you're going to pay this money for this amount of time. And if you don't, you're going to get kicked out. And you're still probably going to have to owe that money anyways. So just make sure you're staying within your budget and you're being responsible and reasonable with yourself and your budget and what you can actually afford.
Next up, we're going to talk about moving expenses. And the first one, which is usually the largest cost, is going to be renting a U-Haul truck or Penske or whatever. And that's going to cost you at least $100 or more normally because you got to pay to rent it. You got to pay the mileage for however far you're driving it. And you got to pay for the gas, which gas is super expensive and they suck at gas mileage. So if you got a lot of stuff, you got to rent one of those. If you don't have a lot of stuff, you can just cram everything in your car or get a buddy with a truck and then move your stuff that way. So you don't have to pay this if you don't have a lot of stuff.
Right. And if you're moving really close, within town, 5 miles away, you can get a U-Haul for less than $100. I want to say the cheapest you can get them is like $25 for the small one, $35 for the little bigger one, $40 for the bigger one. And then it's like $1.25 a mile. So if you're going 10 miles, it's not going to be that expensive. But if you're going from one state to another state, it's going to be a lot more money.
Right? Oh, yeah.
But the cool thing is you can rent it from one town and go turn it into another town. You don't have to take it back. So that's useful.
Yeah. You'd have to pay like a one-way drop-off fee.
Yeah.
But that's, if you're moving out of state. The other stuff you got to pay for are boxes.
Mm-hmm.
You can get them for free. You can go to places like Costco or grocery stores, put in a little bit of effort, driving around and seeing if you can get them for free. Or you can be like us, and when you move, you just go to Walmart and they're like 75 cents a box. They're cheap if you got the money to spend on them.
Right. So
So that might be, I don't know, another $50 or $100 depending on how much stuff you have to move. And then on top of that, you got to pay for packing tape, which it's not expensive, but it's still a cost that you have to, kind of factor into your budget when you're going to move. So that could be anywhere from like, I don't know, $10 to $25, depending on how many boxes you have to pack.
Mm-hmm. Using the little fold method on the boxing lids in lieu of tape doesn't work out very well.
No,
okay,
they explode out.
Yeah, for whatever reason, it's very common for people to forget tape when they're buying boxes. Even though when you go to the store like Walmart or Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever in the hell you go, they're right next to each other. People are like, "Oh yeah, I just got the boxes. We're good."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tape's super important.
Dude, I can't tell you how many people I've helped move that didn't use tape, and then the boxes explode out. It's so annoying.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even help them if they don't have tape.
Boxes really make things a lot simpler if you're moving a lot of stuff. But if you're not moving a lot of stuff and you don't want to spend money for boxes, stick stuff in plastic bags, trash bags. Stick all your clothes in there.
Laundry baskets.
Stick them in the trunk. Stick them in laundry baskets. Just throw them in your back seat, right? It'll save you money. Now, let's talk about utilities. When you get a new place, awesome. That's great. Now you have the place, but you still need to have power there. And if you haven't had power before, you typically need to have some sort of deposit or power connection fee to get the power switched into your name. And that's going to cost you anywhere from $25 to $100, depending on what your PUD is for your local area. Got to have power.
What's PUD?
Public Utility Department.
There you go.
Yeah. See, I was like guessing as he asked that question, and it was right.
Good thing we have a lot of acronyms in the military.
Yeah. If your place comes with gas, that's completely separate than power. So that's a whole nother account that you have to get in your name, and sometimes they require a deposit too. Again, it's going to depend on your gas company. And those connection fees are going to cost you anywhere from $10 to $40 seems to be average. Now, gas is going to be used for things like your heater, maybe your dryer in your house, maybe your hot water tank, maybe your fireplace if you got one, and then your power is going to be used for like your lights, your air conditioner, your outlets, obviously.
Your heater.
Yeah, your heater if you don't have gas. So if you have power and gas, those are two separate accounts. All right. Next up, internet. That costs money too. Everybody thinks that there's just internet everywhere. There's not. You have to get that in your account.
Oh, you got to pay for that?
Yeah, you got to put that in your name. It's going to cost you some money. But what I would do if it was me is I would get moved in. I would check on my phone to see if there's Wi-Fi. And if my neighbor had Wi-Fi because the signals was super strong in my apartment, I'd be like, knock, knock, knock. Hey, neighbor, I'll give you $10 a month if I could use your Wi-Fi password. And if they slam the door in my face and be like, no, then I guess I have to get my own. But it's just an idea, something you could check out. I would always try to work out a deal with your neighbor to see if you guys could use the same internet because all you really need is for your Netflix anyways. So that's what I would check out before I got it in my own name. But if you got to get in your own name, then $40 a month, $50 a month, all kind of depends. CenturyLink, Xfinity, whatever you got. Ghostbusters.
Some of the other stuff you have to pay for is water. Could be free, could be like $25 a month. Normally, water and garbage are free if you have an apartment. It's normally covered in the cost of the apartment. Whereas if you're renting a house or a townhouse or whatever, you got to pay that stuff separately. So water could be up to, I don't know, $25 a month, depending on how much you guys use. If you got a bunch of roommates, it might be a little more, but then it's cheaper because you split it. You got garbage, could be around $20, $25 a month, depending on where you live. So the two of those together, they could both be free if you're in an apartment, or they could be, I don't know, up to $50 a month, minus your portion of it if you have roommates. And then the other thing you got to pay for is food, right? You got to buy food if you're living at home. I mean, I guess you don't have to. You can eat out for every single meal, but I don't know who can afford that.
It's going to be so expensive.
And it's not healthy.
No.
It's really gross to do that.
Yeah.
So you got to buy food at home. When we were writing this script, this dude wrote you could have food for $50 a month.
Top ramen, okay? Top ramen.
Actually, I had a roommate. My first roommate did do that. But he also worked at a restaurant and ate all the food at the restaurant too. But he had, when we go to the grocery store, I'd have my big old shopping cart full of food. And he'd have 2 boxes of just nothing but top ramen.
Hey.
And I was like, bro, how do you do that?
$50 will get you beans, rice, and top ramen. And if you're only eating like one meal at home a day because like you're going to work and you work at a restaurant or something, or you work at a fast food joint and you're eating at work, you can do it. Or you go outside and eat grass. or dirt. You don't have to eat every day. It's just recommended.
Yeah, so anyways, normal people spend like at least $200 to $300 a month on food at home, on their own groceries. And that's not even including eating out and how much we spend on coffee or energy drinks or whatever else. So like when you're going to factor into your budget, your food costs, at a minimum, I would say $200 a month, probably more. And if you're eating healthy, probably more than $300 a month.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a major cost that you're going to have to factor in on top of all your other bills.
Yeah. And if you get the groceries, you still have to use things to cook that food. So you're going to need pots and pans and plates and utensils and all that stuff. That it's not included in the apartment. It's not there when you get there. But last but not least, an emergency fund. This is probably one of the most important things, one of the most important expenses of your whole move out process. Because in the event that you have an emergency, your car breaks, you get sick and you can't go to work, you break a bone, and you can't go to work. You lose your job randomly and mysteriously. The emergency fund is used to cover those expenses in the event that you don't have a job, you don't have an income coming in. This is not a savings account. You don't use your emergency fund for buying the new iPhone or buying the new Xbox or buying a PS5 or going on a vacation. This is what you use as the absolute last resort. Now, a good golden starting point for your emergency fund should be 3 months of expenses saved up in an account. So if your rent is $1,000 a month, you need at least $3,000 in that emergency fund to have it good. You're supposed to have 12 months. That's like the standard. But 3 months is a great goal for when you're just getting started. And it's a lot of money.
I mean, rent plus all your other expenses. So it's going to be more than $3,000 most likely.
Right.
If you do it right.
If you do it right.
And it's way easier to build this up when you're living at home and you don't have any like real bills than trying to do this when you're not making a lot of money and you're living paycheck to paycheck, paying for rent and all this other stuff.
If you guys need help making an emergency fund, we have a video on it. We're going to include the link in the playlist, or excuse me, we're going to include the link in the description below, which has a whole budgeting playlist.
And we should have a card that pops up like around here too.
Somewhere in that realm. So go there, check it out, get an emergency fund. With that stuff alone, your first and last month's rent, your security deposit, your rental application fees, your moving expenses, getting utilities in your name, all of that stuff right there is going to be anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 just to move out. And that's not even including an emergency fund. Because if you were to include that, that's up to like $8,000 plus, depending. It's a lot of money. But we said in the beginning of the video, moving out for the first time is not cheap. But it's not impossible. You can do it.
Sadly, there's not an exact number we can tell you need to save up because everybody's situation is different. You know, what part of the country do you live in? How many roommates do you have? Do you have kids? So on and so forth. There's a lot of different factors that go into this stuff. So you need to look up how much things are going to cost based on where you want to live, like we talked about earlier in the video, whether it's Craigslist or rent.com or Rent Cafe. You can look up all this stuff and then figure out how much money you're going to need and then create a savings plan and then start saving because like we talked about, moving is expensive and you got to have a lot of money in order to do it the right way.
On top of saving up for moving out, you have to be able to make sure that your monthly income can support your new lifestyle. But we'll save all that for another video. If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. In the comments below, let us know which part of this video you found most helpful.
And we'll see you in our next video.
Bye-bye.